morning once again, and welcome back from that short break. My name is Apollo Sarah, and welcome to the Twitter Jab Studio. Today we continue the conversation, and that is the plight of Ugandan migrant workers. Today I am joined by Ms. Agnes Igoye, and she is from the Directorate of Citizenship and Immigration Control. I know that I said that she was the director, but no, she's actually the coordinator from the Directorate of Citizenship and Immigration Control. And she's also a Ugandan social worker and campaigner against human trafficking. Well, she also serves as the country's deputy chair of the National Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Office, Uganda. And in addition to being the training manager at the country's Directorate of Citizenship and Immigration Control, where she is also the founder for Hearts for Peace and a Coming Home, a rehabilitation center that provides assistance to orphan children, some of whom were abducted and trafficked. A lady who is very passionate about her job and seeks to ensure that proper measures are put in place to protect migrant workers. Good morning, Ms. Agnes.
Good morning.
It's nice to finally meet you.
Thank you very
How
much.
are you?
I'm fine, and it's a public holiday, so.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying the public holiday?
For me, there is no, much as it says public holiday, mine has
No
never
days
been,
off.
no days off for me, and we don't, it's not an 8 to even
to 5 job like anybody
no,
else.
We work like 24/7.
All right.
Yes.
So earlier this week, the senior presidential advisor on diaspora affairs, that's Ambassador Abi Walusimbi, did have talks with the head of the consular services at the embassy of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and other diplomats in a bid to iron out the challenges associated with labor externalization to foreign countries. So for my first question, I'd like to ask, what are some of the dire challenges that are facing Ugandan immigrant workers, not just in the UAE, but world over?
Yeah, thank you for that question. First of all, I want to, I'm the Deputy National Coordinator, Prevention of Trafficking Persons at the Coordination Office.
Yes.
And what that office is a creation, of the Prevention of Trafficking Persons Act of 2009. So under that office, we the minister created it, and we coordinate, monitor, and oversee counter-trafficking activities. So counter-trafficking happens both in Uganda. Human trafficking happens both in Uganda, but also abroad. Okay. Abroad, those who cross over. Actually, the biggest challenge of trafficking, the biggest numbers are in country, in Uganda. It's just because, when it happens elsewhere, we are very upset.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like when you're talking about domestic workers.
Yes.
The majority of domestic workers who are affected on trafficking are in this country.
Okay.
The way we treat our domestic workers. All those things you are hearing happening in UAE and what happen also here,
yes,
in our country. So when we talk about what is happening, elsewhere, there are several challenges. I want you to think of the challenges that happen to domestic workers, because that's where the most concentration is usually.
Yes.
First of all, many people are moving. It's not just domestic workers. Others, various categories. Even men move. People are working at the airports. People are working, in other offices elsewhere. Because even when you travel and you go to UAE, you'll find even Ugandans working at the airport.
Yes, that's true.
The only difference is the people who work in offices don't have the same challenges like people who live in people's homes.
The domestic workers.
When you live in somebody's home, it's like our homes in Uganda here. If you look at homes even abroad, it depends on your employer.
Yes.
Me and you will treat our domestic worker differently.
That's
if
true.
you brought the domestic workers or what you call house girls in Uganda, here even in Kampala, and you tell them line up, you'll be shocked at the things they'll tell you. Some people don't eat with them and the same food. Some people lock them up in the houses. Some people sexually exploit them. That's true. The men of the houses. It's the same thing like that happens there. I'll also tell you that there are people who go to the Middle East to work, and they're okay. And they come back. On average, 30 people,
Only
women, 30. Come back to Uganda after finishing their contracts every day. 30, like every day. So they go. And on average, 300 leave the country to go to work not just in domestic work, but elsewhere. But also, on average per week, 15 women especially are offloaded from aeroplanes because they don't have the right contracts. Because I'll tell you that the Director of Citizenship and Immigration Control now has guidelines. You know, we keep training. And you know that, you know, traffickers, you know, keep changing their tactics.
Yes.
So the biggest number of people now being trafficked are being trafficked using, they give them a visa, a visit visa to UAE.
Okay.
But they're not going to visit. That's the challenge. And they coach them, and they know they're not going to visit. Now, Uganda put in place recruitment agencies. I don't even know, you know, this issue of saying all recruitment agencies are traffickers and all that, it is not true. The majority of people being trafficked, whom we are handling in our offices, don't go through recruitment agencies.
How do they go?
So what they do, because when you go through a recruitment agency, for example,
Yes.
first of all, a recruitment agency must you know, work with the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development.
Yes.
Is the one which licenses. So you have to put forward your advert. There are even criteria. Even the ministry has to look at that advert. So once you do that and you're recruited, you're supposed to go through at least a 2 weeks pre-departure orientation. There's a curriculum. They teach you, it's like me and you, even if you're not going for domestic work and you're going to a different country, they'll teach you, you know, the customs, the laws in that country, what to do if you have a challenge. Your passport, you don't go in hiding. Some people go in hiding, even the parents don't know.
Yes.
So they teach you, if you get a challenge where you're going, these are the numbers, this is how you go through. That's why you find that, you know, when there's a challenge through recruitment agencies, because even if it's a recruitment agent, doesn't mean that it's all clean, okay? So if there is exploitation, we know where to start from. We know it is this agency which took you. We put them, you know, you put them in the equation. We know how to, and they deposit 100 million.
100
million
okay.
as a deposit, where, you know, you can, that money can be used to return you. So returning you is easier. You know, so these challenges, because challenges can never stop, because you asked me about the challenges.
Yes.
Some people, it's about even feeding. You know, there are some people who go to homes, just like in our homes here. There are some people who don't feed. They don't feed their domestic workers well.
Yes.
You know, you have all the food, but you even lock the fridges in there. A lot of work, you know, work ethic. And there is also a category of people who go for domestic work and they hate housework. They're not domestic workers. You go and you don't like the job, but it's just because there's something pushing you to go and work.
The money.
Yes, then you go there. You've had maids of all categories. Some of you send them away.
That's true.
There's one you say, this one is lazy, really, no,
Yes.
I can't handle. Even there, they will see and say, you know, this one, no. Then the weather, you know, even the conditions.
Yes.
And then also sometimes you can be Christian and you go to a family where they are Muslims, which is majority, you know, in the Middle East. So even that alone becomes a challenge. There's being homesick. So when it is pre-departure orientation, they take you through all those things, because now you have to you sign a contract of stay. Then there are some people also we've discovered, they hatch plans from here. Can you imagine? You go, because when you go to a home and like you're going to be paid 800 dirhams, you know, for example, and that is a home. So some of them get lured. You think that when you're working outside the home, you get 1,500, you know, dirhams, forgetting that when you escape from this home to go there, you're supposed to get your own what? Accommodation. That's true. You know, accommodation, how to what, then it becomes a challenge. But you also know that when you're traveling, you know, to those countries, some of those, there's what is called the kafala system, which we keep also challenging, and so that we want improvements, that you're tied, you know, to the employer who is taking you. Okay, so that employer, you don't have to leave that employer. That means that you abscond. So we are also finding it that those are some of the challenges, because if you're stuck to this employer who is mistreating you, it becomes a challenge. So
what is being done then to get these girls who escape to come back home? Is it because the president was talking about setting up shelters in the UAE? Let's just give UAE as an example. Setting up shelters so that when girls get into distress or maybe run away from home or face any challenges, they come into the shelters. At the moment, are there any shelters? And what is the embassy of Uganda doing?
I mean embassies, but it is overwhelming, definitely, because some embassies, you know, have even in the Middle East. So you asked me what is being done. You know, several things. It's a combination of things. Actually, the most effective way is doing it before it happens.
All right.
Yes, because when you say go through pre-departure orientation, they teach you these things. You know what to do when you get there. But because that's why you see that, you know, the president, you know, they're also working out, because he said they start sending labor attaches.
Yes.
Then immigration also has sent you know, immigration officers, immigration attaches to different countries. That is all to support, for example, the people who lose their documents,
yes,
you know, or whose documents are withdrawn. We can return them without the passport, as long as we find out that, you know, you're being trafficked. That's why, but we need that information.
Yes.
Yes. Then you can be returned even without the passport. Then you'll have also embassies, you know, abroad. The reason why the president, you know, correctly says, you know, we build a shelter, because, you know, those are distressed, and it's actually mixed flows. It's not just victims of trafficking.
Yes.
There are people who go, you know, we are now lumping everything together. There are people who are not trafficked, but they take themselves, then they get what? Stranded. Because trafficking is the recruitment, transportation. You know, somebody has recruited you, transported you for purposes of exploitation. But if you go by yourself, no one has trafficked you. But now we are lumping it. You are using the word trafficking. Anyhow, you get stranded abroad, you say you are trafficked. But no one trafficked you.
You took yourself.
You took yourself. But like it is, but we don't leave you that because you took yourself, we don't assist you.
Yes.
That's why the shelters, that's why embassies distress Ugandans, including those who commit crimes and maybe are taken to prison and all that. Those are all our people.
Yes.
So you support them, you know, collectively. Now, the biggest challenge we have at the office, because when you go, because there are those, if you don't use a recruitment agency and you use a porous border, or you cross illegally, you lie to immigration about your travel and all that. When you get there, first of all, you send a social media post or somebody sends. We are following up, then you say you are in Abu Dhabi. But where in what? Abu Dhabi. Yes. You have no clue where you are. When we ask you who helped you come, you say Hajat from Masaka. Now, who is Hajat?
Exactly.
So the process takes longer because it's not, we don't send commandos. We don't send Golola.
And they're not sending, and they're not giving you any detailed, you know,
we have
information.
to go through foreign affairs because it is another country.
Yes.
Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Foreign Affairs, Interpol. You see the process?
Yes.
So when you send a message, you don't call me that in the evening and say, okay, what has happened? No, we're not sending commandos. Okay? So it is a process. But if you tell me this recruitment agency took me, very easy. Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social, which licenses, which recruitment agency, on your file, we know where you are, we know which home you are there. It's so easy.
So
it is easier.
I want to ask, are there any penalties placed on the people that take themselves there, then get stranded? Say they go there illegally, they lie to immigration and now get themselves in a very sticky situation. When they come back, are there any fines or penalties or any, you know, punishment by book that they are that they have to face?
You know, when we are talking about people moving,
yes,
you know, definitely this young girl or woman, that's why I was advising also parents, because there are some parents who actually come and warn their children and say, you know, I told you and all that.
Yes.
So when it happens to your daughter, even if you told them, it's relevant at this time.
Yes.
This time it's like, we want to rescue this what? Ugandan, this girl. Somebody misled her.
Yes.
Okay? So we don't punish. We punish when you contravene. You know, there's when you commit the crime, you know. But in your story, you'll tell us, oh, maybe I saw this word. Yes. So there's always some fraud. Yes. Somebody helped you and all that. So it won't be trafficking. You know, it may not be trafficking, but like, okay, you've taken yourself there and all that. So still, you need to be what? Assisted. That's the most important thing. It's like even Ugandans who commit crime and they're in prison.
Yes.
You don't say because, you know, people commit what? When people return from prison, they serve their sentence. You don't have to criminalize them and think that, In prison, no, until when? You know, you commit it, all of us make mistakes.
That's true.
Should we be should we be cast out of society?
What
No.
about the person who misleads that person?
Yes, now that's the person we go after.
Okay.
That's why we say that even when you get victims of trafficking,
Yes.
because victims of trafficking are also made to commit crimes in the process. You may find a victim of trafficking and has a forged document, for example,
Yes.
forged passport, because that's what they've given them. You can find a victim of trafficking whom they've lured into prostitution, and maybe prostitution is illegal. You'll find a victim of trafficking whom they've made to carry drugs and has no idea, because they can conceal drugs in your suitcase.
Exactly.
And you have
And
no
you have
idea.
no idea.
You have no idea. So we don't penalize them for crimes they've committed in the process of being trafficked.
All right.
We don't. We go for the people who committed that crime. That's why we tell victims of trafficking, don't panic, because they make them fearful even of police.
That's
they
true.
tell them, oh, you are here illegally.
If they get you,
if
you're the
they
one who's
get
going to
you,
go to jail.
That's the control mechanism. So that you don't report, or you're fearful of law enforcement. So we never ever punish you. So we train our officers every day. That's why, at immigration control and all that, never fear to talk the truth.
Yes.
Because it is not you who committed those crimes. Somebody deceived you. There was fraud in the process.
But they don't. In that moment, you don't think. You don't think that you're not the one who committed the crimes,
Yes.
because you're the one who was caught with the drugs.
Yes.
But for my follow-up question onto that, how about any assistance when they come back? Do they go through counseling? Are they, sensitized on better procedures on how they should, leave the country in the event that they want to? Or do they ever, no penalties are placed on them, not even banning them from going back to that same country? That's
a very good question.
Yes.
First of all, at the coordination office, we work with stakeholders. There's
Yes.
a whole national committee. Those are about 14 ministries, departments, and agencies,
Yes.
including NGOs who
Yes.
sit. So that task force is chaired, by the permanent secretary, Minister of Internal Affairs, at that high level.
Yes.
So we meet per month, every month. So in there, all people have different responsibilities.
Okay.
Immigration, for example, will help with issuing of the documents, the travel and all that. Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, they even have shelters and all that assist. No, even internally here.
Yes.
Interpol on how to connect and help us bring them back. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, those are what, abroad. Then we have NGOs, some of them also have shelters. So when they return, the rehabilitation. So we work closely. We even have a directory of all agencies, in there, which support with the different services.
Yes.
Because when trafficking happens, there are so many things, challenges victims have. Health, because some, name it, the stress, the HIV, some of it, the sicknesses, the trauma,
yes,
they are in. So there's a whole, so you need counselors, you need people to go through that.
Yes.
Then there are people, there are agencies which are also on skilling, because, the issues that made you go have never changed.
Yes.
Then also, there are also parents who are involved in trafficking of their children. Did you know that?
That is,
yes,
I have. Yes,
there are those who can't go back home because they have
been sold off.
Yeah, they've been sold off. That's why you hear that some Ugandans are so cruel, because even there are some who go to work and they send money and they eat their money. Then you return, and there's nothing.
Your
so what
gone.
we do, to our people is not good. So they have different. So the players are different, in there. Then there's Uganda police, because we also need the person who is responsible for your suffering to be brought to what? Justice.
Yes.
Yes. Last year we convicted 30. You can imagine, 30, and the highest right now has been a pastor and a teacher, died us, who sexually exploited boys.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, 60. So he's spending the rest of his life in what? In prison. And the biggest number, was on sexual exploitation even of children.
Yes.
So trafficking is so many things. It's just that many times we concentrate on only Middle East.
Yes.
Then we forget the biggest trafficking is in our country, you people. I want us to wake up. It is our children.
It's within the country, not
sexual
even outside.
exploitation of children. I went to Kamuda. It's a sub-county in Soroti, during lockdown, and over 1,000 children pregnant, And those are the ones registered in what? In health centers. So yes, they're exploited in the Middle East, but we are so silent. Every time when you see what Middle East, but we forget, we point fingers at other people.
We point
Yes.
that those
We
people are treating us badly.
Yes, we exploit our domestic workers more here than the Middle East. So let us talk about all of them together. That's why I don't want to forget. Because I know, yes, Middle East, you know, there's a challenge which I keep talking about every day, but I don't want us to ever forget. Like when we talk Middle East, let's talk them collectively, you know.
Of all Ugandans who are being trafficked and exploited.
Yeah, both in Uganda,
and
Middle
outside.
East, and also even in neighboring countries. Then there are also people who are trafficked to our country. Let's not forget, because we are all human beings. Because right now we are seeing even, you can imagine, Burundi girls. Right now there are cases in court, and there are girls who have been taken. We've rescued them. So we shouldn't forget, you know, that there are also people who are trafficked in our own country, that even us, we are mistreating foreigners.
That's
you
true.
know, sexually exploiting them.
That's
you know,
true.
long conditions of work. It happens also here.
Also financially exploiting them.
Yes.
Conning them and taking their money.
So let's take care of our domestic workers who go abroad and all that. Yes, I like the noise about it, but let's not forget also other categories.
Because it's very silent right here. So I'd like to ask, what about the statistics, maybe to give it more context, so that our viewer can understand how serious it is. How many Ugandans are being trafficked every year? Not just only here in the country, but abroad, just in general. How many?
No, like they keep changing. Like globally, over 40 million people at any given time. I remember the statistics by International Labour Organization.
Yes.
But I want also you to know that those statistics are just estimates, because there are some which go unreported. Because if you don't report, then the world will not know.
True.
So globally, no one will give you exact. Because even in Uganda over the years, you know, like I've told you that like you can imagine 1,000 in one sub-county. So how many? Because trafficking in Uganda actually is so many things. You know, we forget that. There's sexual exploitation, there's labor, removal of organs, not just for transplant, but for rituals. We remove organs even for witchcraft in this country. There's child marriage. There's the use of children in armed conflict. So it is so many things. Use of people for doing criminal activities, street begging. You know, the children are trafficked in the fishing industry, in mining, in agriculture, you know, in sugarcane plantations, tea plantations.
Yes.
So they are all categories, so many categories. Yes. So it's not just in domestic work, but just because today we are talking about what? Domestic work. But trafficking is so many things.
So what is being done to try and mitigate all this?
So many things. Like I told you that there are different, you know, many players, because you can't solve it, you know, alone. First of all, our country, you know, putting in place the Prevention of Trafficking Persons Act of 2009 was an acknowledgement that this thing is happening. So what we are doing, under that act, we follow what is called the 4 Ps.
Yes.
We have to prevent things from happening.
All right.
By the way, when you hear a parish model, that is on prevention.
Okay.
Because the more you support families, put money on the family, you know, it means that
the family system.
Yes, you're preventing.
And you can mitigate all these things by trying to eradicate poverty.
Another reason why women are going, because I have like 30 advisors,
yes,
you know, from victims of trafficking. Do you know that they are single mothers? The men in their lives abandon the children.
That's true.
They say. So they are single mothers, they need to get to feed. Some are running away from domestic, some are running away from domestic violence. Okay?
Yes.
They tell you that, you know what, I'd rather be exploited elsewhere, but let me leave this man, let me leave this woman. But we also know that our men have been affected. You know, COVID-19, some have lost jobs. So some of them, you know, they just push their children to the what? To the women, you know, who are there. So that is prevention. Then awareness campaigns. You keep telling people, recruitment agencies, use this, good methods of, you know, safe ways of travel. You make sure that you get your passport. This is the way to get a passport. So I want people to listen, you know, to that advice. It's very, very important. Then, of course, you need you need to protect, people who have suffered from it. The people who have, if like you asked, something has happened to you, you've been exploited. You need your health.
Yes.
You need to court. Because you need to hold people accountable.
Absolutely.
In there. We need to help you, establish. So that's why we work with different stakeholders. Then you need prosecution. Now we have a very fantastic system, prosecution, led investigations. Our prosecutors are working with the police. So you can imagine now we are getting a lot of, really convictions in there, because you have to penalize people.
Yes.
And of course you have the partnerships. You can't do it alone.
True.
Every one of us has a part to play. You who is moving, get the right information. There's recruitment over social media. No one is going to come to your bedroom at midnight when you're looking at your Facebook, WhatsApp, and being recruited. Your parents don't know, then you run away. That some parents have come to our office and like, I've heard that my daughter, she's on her way.
Yes.
Then we send messages, and indeed we get them. So don't go in hiding. There's nothing, go abroad to work. There's nothing wrong to going abroad to work, but go properly.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And before I let you go, any closing remarks that you'd like to share with our viewers, just very briefly?
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank Ugandans, because Ugandans have the awareness, has gone out, and we've seen parents, we've seen friends who are who come up and spreading this awareness. I want to let everybody know that there's nothing wrong with going abroad to work, but when you do, go through the right procedures. There are recruitment agencies which are licensed. There are labor officers in every district. Go to the labor offices, they will have updated lists, because even when a recruitment agency commits crimes, they are deregistered.
Yes.
There are penalties in there. So it's easier for us to deal with people who are licensed than you going, in hiding. It becomes more difficult when you live on your own, when you don't know where you are, you don't know who took you. It is difficult to bring you back. It takes a longer process than if you tell us this is a recruitment agency, and then we go and follow the instructions. So I want to thank you. I want to wish you, I know that today is morning.
Yes.
Let's mourn together, and let's take care of ourselves. Those who are moving, move properly, but have the right information as you move. I thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Agnes Igoye, for joining me today on the Twitter Jabs. I thoroughly enjoyed this information and this conversation. And just like she said, please, if you're to leave the country, please do it the right way. Don't go in hiding, because if you do, it will make it very difficult for you to get any government assistance to bring you back. Well, that's all that we had for you on this segment of the Twitter Jabs. To stay tuned to Sunrise at Sea, because we have more. Don't blink.